I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction. Here with your feeder flash for Thursday, August the 15th, brought to you in part by the VITALIX Corporation. Since 1967, VITALIX's mission has been to provide excellence in animal health, including but not limited to all-American ID tags for all classes of livestock. For more information, go to y-tex.com. Awaiting farmer feeder interest. And we really have three kinds of feeder buyers, cattle that are going right on to feed. You have your big corporates that are just buying numbers all the time. They really have no interest in the quality of what they're buying or the performance. They just need head counts, and they got to keep them coming in, and they will buy them, whether they're Mexican cattle or whether they're southeastern cattle, or whether they can get some cattle out of the midsection of the country worth the money. They just want to get the numbers and keep them coming. And then you've got your more particular corporates and your big family feeding operations that typically feed for performance. The cattle don't have to be fancy, but they want the cattle that are green as they can get them. They want the cattle that have a fair weigh up, and they want the cattle that will really perform. Now, you've seen that group been filling up here over the last couple of months. They've been buying all those green grass yearlings out of the major grazing areas of the country, and those cattle, they claim some of them will gain 5 pounds a day. I've never seen cattle gain 5 pounds a day, but it's like a friend of mine, farmer up in northwest Missouri one time, and he was a good farmer. He said, you know, I've always heard that shit about 200 yield per acre, 200 bushels to the acre. He said, I've still never had a field average 200 bushel to the acre. And but they claim they're out there, and they claim that these cattle, some of them will gain just over 5 pounds a day, but that's fantastic if they do. And of course, the cattle have to be shrunk out empty when they weighed them on the way in, and really perform there. But you got those. But then you've got your farmer feeders, and they want better quality cattle. It's just their nature. Maybe they're in competition with their farmer feeder neighbors, but they want the good cattle. They want those cattle that'll grade, all choice and prime. They want the cattle. They want them to perform too, but they really want those cattle to be fancy. And we're starting to see a few early farmer feeders come into the market, and that's odd because we haven't seen harvest take off yet. So once harvest is done, then they'll all be in, because I've told you guys before, there's nothing a farmer would rather do than farm. And when it's time to farm, they're not worried about anything else but farming. And if you're wondering what the difference is, just ask a guy that is. He might be diversified, but he says, well, I farm and feed some cattle. Or you'd ask one that's more of a cattle guy, he'll say, oh, I'm a cattle feeder and I farm some. They'll usually tell you on how they introduce themselves, but farmer feeders love to farm. Now, they'll feed some cattle in the off season, and when they get the harvest finished up, then they'll definitely want some cattle to feed those that are still in the business. But we're starting to see a few show up, and some of these farmers that we're seeing show up, they want some of those yearling cattle. Now, typically a farmer would rather feed a big fat calf than he would a yearling, but some of them have got the taste of it, and they want to feed some of those yearling cattle. So they're coming in before all the yearlings are gone, and they're starting to sop up some of those better quality yearlings, and we're starting to see the price on our big heavy yearling cattle separate in the northern plains and the southern plains. Southern plains, they're still kind of sucking hind tip from the market that we fell to last week, selling 9 weights right at 240 and not much better. But we're starting to see now, with a few farmer feeders coming in and some farmer feeder interest, we're starting to see the better quality cattle in the northern plains get back, not up to where we were over 2 weeks ago, but getting close to that. And I'll show you some of those prices here at the end of the report, like I always do. But we're getting to that time, and like I said, whenever they get harvest done, they're really going to get active, and your farmer feeders will fill their lots, which there's a lot more of them, but they don't hold nearly as many cattle, so it won't take long to fill them. But those lots are filled with those performance cattle, both in the northern plains and in the Kansas area. But you know, they're maybe filling one that opens up here and there, but for the most part, they are slam full with those green grass yearlings right now. And corn is cheap, and it appears it's going to stay cheap, just hovering right around $4 a bushel there for new crop December corn. And heck of it is, these farmer feeders, they've got a lot of last year's corn still in on-farm storage. So they would like to loosen some of that up, get it moved over there where they grind their feed, and start shaking that up just a little bit, because they hate to sell any more of it than they have to, and they really don't want to have to pay for storage. So you know, that's kind of how we are, feeding cattle cheap, but interest is still a big expense. And also for the farmer feeders that have not come in, and some of them that are a little bit hesitant to come into the cattle market, some of them just can't get excited about paying 9% interest, and they've been bleeding some equity, and they would like to raise their credit line, but a lot of these banks are not excited about lending a lot of money just on equity, when they know we are looking at the market going to be falling here at some point. So it's just a game of chess there, and we're not sure who's winning right now. Don't forget about a Punchy Pick of the Month contest. We're halfway to picking another Punchy Pick winner. Well, we had some good ones last time, and we appreciate you guys sending those in. Of course, it doesn't cost anything to enter. If you see something punchy that happens out in your daily activities, snap a picture of it with your phone. Email that picture to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. You're automatically entered to win. And of course, the big prize is that big old box that'll be delivered to your house, and it's slam full of goodies from Beaver Feed Company in Beaver, Oklahoma, Beaver County Stockyards, Feeder Flash, National Beef Wire. Then of course, it's also going to include that whole case of Farapiece, that revolutionary product that scientifically proven, and I'll try to remember to attach a Farapiece video at the end of this Feeder Flash episode. Let's talk about your board on Wednesday. August live cattle up 60 cents at 184.60. October up 137 at 182.12. Back months up 50 cents to up 130. Another good day, second day in a row, which is uncommon for positives on the cattle futures there. And we're starting to see a little bit of technical support come in, so maybe that will help hold our head above water here a little bit. Feeder cattle were up more. August feeder cattle up 142 at 247.90. September was up 217 at 244.35. Your back months on feeder cattle were up 135 on the farthest out, but more than that as we got closer to as much as 217 higher. December corn up 3.5 cents a bushel at $4.75 a bushel. November beans up 6 cents at 968.5, and your hard red winter wheat for September down 1.5 cents a bushel at 546.25. Fat cattle trade, still no trade really developing in your direct trade areas, and that's where we typically get whenever things are looking more positive during the week, and your feedlots are not going to cave to steadier lower bids. And then of course your packers are waiting for the board to crash on Thursday or Friday so that they can buy the cattle steadier lower, and that's kind of a week in week out type of a deal. But we saw just 150 cattle sell in Iowa at 190 on Wednesday. Nebraska, Kansas, and Texas did not have any negotiated sales on Wednesday to report. We did have another good fat cattle auction. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota. DVAuction broadcaster there. They had a good sale on Wednesday. Had over 1,300 slaughter cattle at the sale. That includes some slaughter cows, but a lot of good fat cattle there. The conventional fat steers and heifers brought from 188.75 to 194. That's pretty respectable right there. They had a hell of a sale last week with a lot of cattle bringing over $2 a pound, if you remember. So they called this week's sale $2 to $4 lower, but it's still better than most of your direct trade. The program cattle, either drug-free or non-implanted cattle, sell from 192.5 to 196 1/4. Box beef cutout values were lower after being higher the first 2 days of the week, but choice cuts down $205 at $314.88, selects down 11 cents at $300.50. Slaughter cattle, or your slaughter for the week, is started out behind, and it's not going to be able to catch up. 356,000 through the first 3 days of the week estimated. That's 7,000 less than last week, 11,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Gelbvieh and Balancer genetics, guys. Balancer influence cattle offer increased performance, improved feed efficiency, and have excellent carcass merit. Balancers add pounds, make the grade, and deliver the value. For more information, go to gelbvieh.org. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states. Late in the day on Wednesday, sitting at 246.28. That was up 42 cents from the end of Tuesday's trade. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index is lower than that, and by quite a little bit there, over a buck. You say, why is that? Well, they had a lot of lower direct sales turned in on Friday, and so they're still in that 7-day moving average. Sucks them down a lot. It's a big deal for those corporates and some of those I mentioned earlier in the report to turn those plain cattle in on a direct basis over the weekend, in which they do those reports on Friday. Then they go in early in the week. It sucks that index on your CME cash feeder cattle index down. Of course, the real-time index is just made up of auction sales, so at times it's going to run a little bit higher. But 245.09 was the latest CME cash feeder cattle index available. Going to be heading down to Ruidoso, New Mexico, and you said, oh, I thought that place burnt up and then washed away. Well, it did for the most part, but the town's still alive. They're not having the horse races at Ruidoso Downs for the rest of this year because of some damage they had to the entrance there. But they are still having the Ruidoso horse sales. So the Ruidoso, New Mexico bread sale is going to be on DVAuction this Friday and Saturday, and I'm going to be down there collecting those online bids. And we are going to be taking online bids, guys, unlike the sale down in San Antonio. But we are going to be taking those. It's up to you guys to get approved. Call into the Ruidoso horse sales office there, give them your information, get approved, get on there and bid on some of those. We got over 200 to sell this weekend, and still have a good time down there in Ruidoso. And I think they are having simulcast betting there at the track, even though we're not going to be running horses. Talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma had 4,800 this week, counting the Tuesday and Wednesday sales. Feeder steers on Wednesday were $2 to $4 higher. Feeder heifers $1 to $3 higher. Calves on Tuesday $5 to $8 higher. And big sale that I saw on Wednesday was 61 head of 802-pound steers, bring 255, weighing 802. Your CME feeder cattle index is based on an 800-pound cash steer and is more than $10 under that. Talk about Dodge City. Winter livestock in Dodge City, Kansas had a lighter run, only 700 and some, but man, they had some pretty impressive quotes for that lighter run. How about 60 head, 898-pound steers, knocking on 900 pounds, guys, bring 255.50. That was the most impressive quote I saw anywhere in the Southern Plains. Your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota. Big barbecue sale there, had over 5,000 head, and mostly all yearlings, and pretty impressive there, guys. Look at this automated market report. You see it's just the bigger feeder weights that are well tested. They had 486 out of 8-weight steers. They averaged 838 with a weighted average price of $257.32. Weighing into the eighths of ways, guys, bringing a price like that. Nearly 1,600 head of 9-weight steers. They average 945 with a weighted average price of $239.56. Look at some heifers. How about 577 head of 8-weight heifers averaged $858 at $230.13, and 435 head of 9-weight heifers averaged 930 pounds at $220.93. Some individual quotes from all around. How about South Central Regional Stockyards in Vienna, Missouri? That's the Patton family there, good friends of mine. 58 steers, weighed 718, bring 273 through the ring there in Vienna, Missouri. How about Bloomfield Livestock Market? That's the Schooley family up there in Bloomfield, Iowa. They sell 124 steers, weighed 871 at $258.25. Thought that was pretty impressive. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, indeed come out of Stockman's Livestock in Yankton at the barbecue special. It was 154 steers, weighed 816 and bring 267. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.